we started with health, we moved on to education. For our island to be attractive for students to come back to or for people to return to, we have to provide incredible services for them. But I think one thing that we hear about every day, especially now, and it's so topical, is the economy and specifically the island's economy. I mean, I'm passionate about certain parts of it because I really would like to re-energise film and TV, for instance, which I know is one of your main points. But I think, what do you feel should be our priorities as part of the economic discussion now?
Yeah, well, I think it'd be wrong of me not to discuss Brexit and the sort of implications that may possibly have on the island. How the negotiations are going to go with the UK and the EU, what the implications are going to be, where does that leave the Crown dependencies, where does it leave the Isle of Man, are we still going to have access to the single market and so forth. But I think we still have to remain optimistic and positive. But one of the points that I think is critical for the Isle of Man now, seriously, is our international representation and how we attract new business, new markets to the Isle of Man, because the economy has to keep growing. I mean, we've had economic growth for the past 30 years, which has been fantastic. I think we need to form a group of ambassadors, business ambassadors, who will represent the island on the international stage at the highest level, who can negotiate at the highest level, who has international standing. So if you take someone like James Malew, to have those kind of individuals working on our behalf, it's what we need. Definitely, absolutely is what we need. I mean, the second point to growing the economy is if we look at the Economic Development Fund, which is £50 million, as we discussed in education. I think, again, we need to have a review, I think, on our skill set, because the Isle of Man, say for example in IT, ICT, there may be a lack of skills. So you can either address that through immigration, bring people with skills to fill the gaps, which is one solution. But the second thing is that, and I think it has to be a priority, is that we give the Manx people every opportunity to move into those higher paid jobs, first and foremost. Utilising the Economic Development Fund, let's give small to medium businesses the resources that they need to take on new staff, to expand and grow and develop their companies. And one of the interesting things that I read about is that small companies, there's only on average 50% of small companies that have an online presence and social media presence. And I just think in this day and age, we need to, again, it's offering that kind of support, that expertise. To make another quick point about the economy and the television and film industry, is that I think the Isle of Man's missed the trick when it comes to the TV and film industry. Because if you look at television dramas such as Midsummer Murders, Doc Martin filmed in Cornwall, these long-running TV series pull in to the local economy around 30 to 40 million pounds, as well as creating jobs for locals and so on. So one of the vision that I think we should have going forward for the television and film industry is actually really developing industry on the island. But I would commission a BAFTA award winning writer to write a TV drama, a comedy, whatever it is, that can be filmed solely on the Isle of Man, with the intention that is going to be filmed year in, year out, in order to help boost local economy. And if you look at Game of Thrones, that contributes £100 million to the local economy in Northern Ireland. And there's no reason why that couldn't have been filmed on there. We have that landscape, we have that diversity in terms of, we look like Ireland in many respects.
You couldn't talk about the economy without talking about film and TV, really, because this is your background. So I think you have very strong opinions on this. I think there is so much opportunity, but like you said, I think we're talking about it's got to be class representation from the top, which is obviously your first point about putting the Isle of Man out there and drawing it somewhere where you can do new business. And I do feel like the government is really, it's ready to kind of give a lot of thought to this and energy, which is great. I'm not sure whether you wanted to talk about tourism as part of this too, talking about representation of the Isle of Man. We do. I personally feel like boosting tourism could be wonderful for us. I mean, historically, obviously, we've been this place that everybody wants to come to. How do we improve that?
Well, my personal opinion is that I think the government needs to take over the steam packet, not in terms of nationalisation, that it becomes a government department and it's government workers, but corporatise the steam packet so that those workers would be under private sector private sector contract. They're not getting public sector pensions, not getting, public sector benefits or anything. It is purely run as a private sector company. What we could do potentially is cap profits. At the moment, the profits are going off Ireland to shareholders in a Portuguese bank. That's where the profit is going. If we sort of corporatise the steam packing, we can cap it to 5%. We can reinvest that money in terms of driving down the cost of travel on the steam packing. I mean, one of the areas that I think is we could grow is day trips and weekend trips. If you think you can travel from Liverpool, let's say, for the price of £10-15 a return ticket, that is when we can seriously promote the island and bring in, tourism for day trips, for weekends and so on. And the other thing is, I do believe that it's time for the government to invest in infrastructure. An entertainment complex. If you look at what can families do, what is there for tourists? Of course there's heritage and there's historical sites, and that's valid, and that's kind of a niche market. But in terms of, investing in an entertainment complex, and to kind of replace Summerland, I think a futuristic, inside water park that can have, activities, sports, restaurants, bars, things for toddlers to do, somewhere for families to go that is exciting, that has modern games and all that sort of thing. Absolutely. And again, I would say that it's not to be part of a government department or anything, but it'd be corporatised. It'd be an investment that I think the Isle of Man desperately needs.